Today with me I have Sandeep Kumar, who is the global CISO and DPO for ANSR, and along with him we have Ramadevi N, who is the HR Operation and Payroll Senior Manager, also from ANSR. So we'll be having quick chat about two three questions, and let's take it forward.
Sure.
So my first question is to you, sir.
Yeah.
So in a highly regulated ecosystem,
Mhm.
how does security first design look like a leadership from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, it's a very good question to have. When we look at the global scenarios of today, they largely comply with the data compliances and requirements. And we all know that there is a compliances rules for the GDPR, CCPA, and UK regulatories, etc., and India for DPDPA. But surprisingly, we have more than 120 plus countries who has data privacy laws, and we are following just the GDPR because of the stringent policy and procedures. And setting up for any organization as a benchmark for ISO 27001, SOC 2, and GDPR, all these are enables the ecosystem for the trust for the organizations to work with the global stakeholders, global customers, and that is and is supposed to be as a standing at the start itself. We call it as a secure by design and default. So that brings to enable the business for robust and trust for engaging our customers and our partners, etc.
Correct. So taking cue from that, madam, when it comes to your kind of profile,
Yeah.
so there is a huge amount of data that you would have to look into, manage in terms of security aspect. So how do you like go about the entire aspect of program of it, and in terms of more in terms of security? If you could elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, that's a very critical point for any organization, being it's global, non-global, or any kind of an industry. Managing database for irrespective of my core employees or a vendor employees or wherever the business run, it plays a major role actually. So in this era, I think like technology is handling every situation what we are undergoing right now, and we already seeing the security side crime which is happening and all. And I think like Sandeep plays a big role of giving us the right suggestion how to protect our data. So I think like we are good enough to protect our data right now, and we also make a sensitive collection of information before sharing to an auditor or collecting from the side of the management side or whatever it is for.
Stakeholders.
Yeah, stakeholders.
So when it comes to like understanding the risk, so from your objective and from your day-to-day activities,
Yeah.
what are some of the overlooked risk in API exposure and versioning that CISOs should be aware of in terms of today's current scenario that we are seeing?
Yeah, so the supply chain of API is very important, and possibly for any CISO in that matters, running with a lot of applications and critical systems integrated directly or indirectly with the ecosystem. And it's not only in-house built APIs, but it's more risk exposed towards the internet facing of the supply chain related APIs. And encryption, masking, and right way of authentication, rate limit, all these are one way of looking at. But the other new challenge is coming with the API, with AI, with Gen AI. That brings more challenging and opportunities for organizations. For us, like a CISO, it's a roller coaster job.
Correct. So very rightly mentioned. When we talk about AI and with the kind of again going back to the database bit. So today there is a lot of compliances as
True.
Sir was talking about. And when it comes to your job, like how do you go about because compliance is very critical. Even the government bodies are asking for it. There are a lot of regulatory bodies also in place. So from your point of view, how do you go about tackling the compliance and ensuring that it's met?
See, as we know that Sir was talking about the international compliance and Indian compliance, right? And we all know that Indian compliance is more sensitive and more critical to understand the norms. And it is a huge data which we have to handle it, right? And not only for on the data security side, it is about the labor compliance too. We handle a lot of things in that. So it is very critical to disclose and not disclose, and whom to be given, whom not to be given, encrypted or masking data, as he mentioned, that volume of what need to be displayed, what not to be displayed, what can be shared and what cannot be shared. So I think that's going to be a very big challenge for from the AI plus on the information side.
So, sir, being like, as a DPO also and as part of CISO also, when there is such a huge database, there might be possibilities of lot of loopholes and points which you have to ensure.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of it which you brought out, and Madam also talked about compliance. The other part is like, this as your role, you have to align a lot of team.
Yeah.
So how do you go about ensuring that without compromising security and the privacy of the data, the entire team is on board with the security culture? And
that's true. Very realistic question. If you look at this, as I was talking about the secure by design and default, and everything, the integration with the technology and the process, it needs to be enabled from the culture. Otherwise, you bring a lot of tools, but not being used so far, and not adaptability is not there. It doesn't work. That is number one. And number two is we need to have a layered approach. We have let us look at the more the threat landscape towards one is supply chain and qualified vendors to pick right due diligences and the internal awareness and culture and phishing testings and bring the secure SDLC approach. Another side is like enable the culture of what's going on globally and ensure that this all parameters that practicing as a framework and process and culture and stay up to date. This is very important.
Correct.
Right? So, and all this happens, and then the end of the day to meet the business objective.
Correct.
Right? So this is how we need to keep the trend and make the business up and running and support and BCPs in place and ensure that your the resilience and backups and uptimes and everything is in place. That's how I see as a approach towards going further.
Right. So on a closing note, what would be your one advice to the aspiring CISOs and who are navigating the very critical intersections of compliance, architecture, and above all stakeholder trust?
The threat landscape is being differently. We are seeing this is being continuously changing, and we need to have more learning and awareness. And we were talking about industry 3.0, 4.0. Now we stepped in 5.0. So either we are liking it or not, the technology is growing. As a CISOs, our risks are also growing. So we need to ensure that the right way of ethical culture, ethical practices, and new technologies and controls requirement. It's an ongoing journey for any CISOs, aspiring CISOs, to continue to learn and engage with the communities to learn more what is happening across. Right?
And to you, ma'am, one word to your peers, what some key takeaway from your challenges and what should be they prepared for?
So be prepared for the risk measurement and be aware about what are the risks where we are going to get faced as an HR and operations and the compliance point. Let us support the data security at all the norms, and let's not take it light. And it's very important for all the organization to be aware about the security firms.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great meeting and looking forward.